Making Mastery Learning a Reality one day at a time here. John Bergman. Hey, big thoughts this week. So we are finishing up next week, actually, our first quarter of grades. And this is going to sound weird. I'm seeing a value in hard and fast deadlines. Now you might say, wait a second, I think I go antithetical to that in Mastery, the students move through the content at their own pace. But actually, I've never said at their own pace. It's really at a flexible pace. And so every quarter I have to give grades. So I have to cut off the grades next week in like 3 more days of class. I'm going to cut the grades off. And that means what's happening, and this is good, students have a little bit of a incentive because they know if they don't get X mastered by next 3 days, then they're going to realize that then they're not going to get the grade that they desire. So I think there's a value in having a hard and fast deadline sometimes. Now, key thing here that I'm talking about is that my students are moving at a flexible pace. So right now in my chemistry class, I've said that by the end of the quarter, you need to be through lesson 3.5, right? And honestly, right now, I've got, what am I saying? I've probably got a quarter of my students who are through 3.5, but that's causing those who were behind to scramble right now. And so I'm seeing a lot of scrambling. And what I did, to even incentivize it more, is I put in their quarter grades into the grade book and put a bunch of zeros, going all the way up to 3.5. And if they're missing an assignment, they have a 0. Now, between you and me, the 0 isn't a real 0. It's just a 0 until they turn their stuff in. And so what I'm anticipating is almost all my students are going to see this sort of really bad negative grade. And they're going to look and go, oh my gosh, I got to get it all done. And so they will. So I do see a value in in some types of deadlines. I still believe in the value of them moving at a flexible pace. Philosophically, I believe that students need to learn at the rate that makes sense to them. I philosophically believe that I don't care when you learn it, I care that you learn it. But I also have a certain group of students who don't take school as seriously as they maybe ought to or should. And when they get this hard and fast deadline, then they get their stuff done. Maybe I'm also privileged. I will admit I'm at a school where the students in general care about their grades and their parents check up on their grades. I know that's not true in every school in the world, but it is something that works for me. So the value of hard and fast deadlines in a mastery classroom may seem antithetical, but I'll use what I can get to get students to move along at the paces that are going to work, so that because what's the alternative, right? The alternative is my students get so spread out, and if they get so spread out, what often happens is that it becomes untenable for me to do the class. Especially, you can see if you're watching the video that I'm sitting in a science classroom, and I've got experiments, and they've got things they've got to do, and all that kind of stuff, and I can't have 10 different experiments set up. I need to have just a few so that it makes it a manageable situation. So you can make Mastery Learning a reality one at a time if you have some tangible deadlines, at least every now and again. And so I'm going to have this happen 4 times in a year. Each quarter, we're going to say there's a hard and fast deadline by this date. And that date is in 3 days from now for the kids who sit in this classroom. John Bergman out.